Okay, our fourth topic is an important one, employee engagement. Abbas?
Wow, that's a tough one. So, employee engagement, it can be viewed in many different levels. Penn State is a union shop, which has its own layers of complexity layered on top, because the things that you would want to do, sometimes you can't. And so the first thing that we have to keep in mind when we do is that we are working within the broader rules of the organization and the contract. For example, for certain jobs, we can't have our employees talk to our customers because it would change the whole job. It adds a whole layer of complexity. So keeping that in mind, we have to be we try to work with that, and within that, the first thing we try to do is, in the recent years, we've tried to, just like anything when you work elsewhere, we've tried to improve through cross-training by giving people more opportunity to try new things and see if they like it, and then try to rework descriptions to incorporate things. That way the jobs tend to become more fulfilling. The other big thing that we do is that most new purchases are essentially joint discussions and joint agreements. So we essentially all collect ideas, and then we sit down together and evaluate ideas and pick, what might be 2 or 3 the best ideas and try to move forward with those. That way we try to see that everybody's on the same page. We've passed on a lot of responsibilities of structural responsibilities back to our customer service reps. So for a lot of cases, for the customers, they can decide, they can estimate their own pricing. They have a window or room to reduce some pricing, or if they feel it's necessary because of an event, or if they want to give something away. So it gives them a more feeling of ownership in terms of the ownership of the process. We share all our results with all our employees, so we are pretty much aware of what's happening in terms of our cost structures and our revenue. And then the final thing is that we make it definitely make it a point to get my superiors involved, and so every quarter my superiors can come and actually have a discussion with my employees without us managers being there, and kind of a skip level communication. That way there's this opportunity, there's this channel that you can go and talk to somebody else and get your issues resolved. That has actually become more institution-wide. So there's this other set of activities, of a lot of around surveys around ethics, and especially with some of the challenges that Penn State has faced in the last 3 to 4 years. Employee engagement is very critical beyond just a plant level, but how the institution looks at itself. It's been a big issue of self-reflection. So we've done now we do every 6 months, we do value survey, we do ethics surveys, we do surveys about employee satisfaction, and all those results are reported back to the employees. So it's not that they, all the time they feel that the results are being that the voice is being heard and some action is being taken.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, it's almost as if Abbas was reading my notes earlier. But MIT is also a campus where in our shop the operators are union, the customer service are not. And so you have to be very careful about coming up with anything creative, because it may not be allowed in the contract, and that will simply cause resentment between the two groups as it is. So what we try to do to keep our staff happy is much like Abbas already touched upon, we get them involved in every aspect of important decisions and situations that we're researching. We get them involved in visits to the vendors to test products. We get their feedback. We invite them into meetings. We get whatever their input is on what they think would work well in certain situations. We try to break down the old walls of bosses and employees and people who have no real say in anything that's going on. We try to build community interaction with the MIT campus. We get the department as a group involved in different initiatives that go on at MIT, whether it's a bucket challenge or whether it's a weight loss challenge or whether it's anything that involves teams at MIT. We like to have Copytech represented in those events that take place. And it builds a certain kind of rapport with the staff of the department that always comes back at a time when you truly need to ask them to go above and beyond. And by building that trust and that relationship through all these different things that don't really have anything to do with our core business, they really have been able to respond during those crunch times.
So I guess I see staff in two ways. That I have the internal staff and the rest of the institution. But contrary to both of your experiences, a large part of what my staff get to do is interact with our clients, our customers, and really be part of the art making process. All of my staff come from, they're working artists, and so we feel pretty excited to be able to work with other artists. They come to us, they trust us, we provide kind of sometimes it's almost a critique, like, what if we do this? Well, how do you think that would look? So, my staff are very, I think, already pretty committed to their jobs. And they print a lot of work that they're very proud of. We always have pieces in the Whitney Biennial. We always have, we print a majority of the work that's in our BFA and MFA shows every year that are pretty well known. Actually, at one large project that we did years ago when they were building the modern wing at the museum, so the school and the museum are separate, but we're kind of the same institution. We have central administration. But we printed actually all of the pieces that were to be hung in the modern wing. We did full-size mock-ups of everything. So it's like, that's pretty amazing thing to be able to say that you did, for one of my employees to be able to say, yeah, I printed this awesome thing. So, but we also, as a department, I'm kind of a stepchild of our IT department, and so, we're a smaller whole, and sometimes we get stuck in our own little world. We don't interact as much with the greater whole. So we do have team building exercises. We try to do those on a regular basis. We, go out. We'll have what we call paper jams, where we go out on Friday nights or something like that. So so that's really how to get our internal staff involved. Also, I give them ownership of their facilities and definitely make them a large part of the decision-making process, and really rely on their input, because they're in the battlefield every day. I'm kind of like fighting a different fight than they are, so I heavily rely on them. As far as the school as a whole, as a customer, I think we try really hard to let them know that we have their best interest at heart. We don't place limitations. We don't like to say no to them. We try to find solutions so that we can accommodate what they're trying to do. And sometimes that means laser cutting on a piece of pizza or something like that, but that's the great thing about working at art school. We don't have to really confine ourselves to the normal rules of things. And again, I also work a lot with departments, and try to help them find ways to facilitate some of the things that they want to do and maybe pool resources. And so if I have 2 or 3 areas that are looking at doing fabric printing, I can accommodate them as a larger whole and get some curricular support from them to help bring that and make that resource available to the whole institution. So, really, I mean, and I think on an annual, basis, our growth, we continue to, grow at about 4 to 10% as far as our customer base every year. So, I feel like it's kind of a trust. It only takes one person to say a negative thing before word spreads, and then all of a sudden nobody wants to use our services anymore. So we try really hard to make sure to have really positive interactions with all of our staff, faculty, alumni, which can be challenging because they tend to take advantage of us sometimes. But, yeah, I think it's very positive for us.
Launching a new web-to-print system is a big change. It requires involvement and commitment from our staff. These are my coworkers. I had the responsibility of training all my coworkers on how to use the new system, and I'd just like to share some of my experiences doing that. One thing that helped was getting all my coworkers to feel like they had ownership in the new system. We have production meetings at our print center every morning. I would get on the schedule, and I can come in and talk about, okay, what are we going to call this new system internally? And everyone will share their ideas. We'll take a vote on it. We'll do things like define the names for the paper catalogs. We had lots of different names for our paper stocks before. We sat down at a meeting. We defined those names. Now our staff and our customers are all using the same language to describe our paper stocks, and they were all involved in that. We reviewed our news stories that we published on our internal news feeds before they went out, so my coworkers got to contribute their ideas, talk about what they wanted to see in the articles, and it really helped bring them on board with the new system. The next part was training. They really had to be committed to learning the new system, and what we found was it worked best taking an approach to let everyone learn at their own pace. You have more technically savvy users who are going to pick it up and run with it. You can show them all the advanced things the new system does. And then there's other users where it's just going to take them some more time. It just requires being patient. We found what worked well was we had a pilot group submitting orders before we launched the system company-wide, submitting basic print orders, single-sided, double-sided, black and white, maybe a corner staple. And we let users who needed more practice just practice with those orders every day until they were comfortable. They were able to feel comfortable handling the more advanced orders that were coming through the system. It was really a team effort. Everyone was involved, really grassroots. One thing we also encourage is good customer service. Not just good, really great customer service. We don't want to have our customers to have a negative experience. One thing that was a little bit of a stumbling block at first while people were learning the new system was if a customer calls with a question and they don't know how to answer it, how do they handle it? So we have escalation procedures in place. They can approach myself, our team lead, our print shop senior manager, and we'll work with them to either provide them the resources they need to help the customer, or we'll help the customer directly. Lastly, management at my implant has done a great job of fostering an environment where everyone's ideas are listened to. It's encouraged to submit new ideas and process improvements. The people with the feet on the ground are usually the ones thinking about, oh, man, how can I make my job easier? And we come up with a lot of great ideas. And I think it's important, too, if an idea cannot be implemented, to explain why. Sometimes my coworkers will come to me with suggestions for ideas for things to do in WebCRD, and if we can do them, that's great. We have a workflow set up. One of my coworkers suggested it's a book building workflow. Customers can combine different documents, add tabs. It imposes the book for tabloid printing. That was all his idea. It's up there. We have other ideas that, for one reason or another, are not feasible. And instead of just saying no, we'll explain why. We'll look at the technical aspects and tell them to keep the ideas coming.